It's really a massive privilege to have our guest here this evening, Reverend Dr. Qaiser Julius. Qaiser is from Pakistan, and Pakistan is really a rich country. Whenever I started to do a little bit of research to it, in preparation for this evening, it has the same landmass as Turkey, but of course, you will know that Pakistan is located in Southeast Asia and shares its borders with India, Afghanistan, Iran, and China. What I didn't realize, and I should have known that, it just shows my poor geography, is that Pakistan is home to K2, the second highest mountain in the world, and Urdu is the national language, but Pakistan has over 70 different languages and has, with it having over 240 million people, Pakistan is the fifth most populous country in the world. I hope, Qaiser, that information that I have supplied is relatively accurate. And I just want to say a massive thank you. I know you've had a busy day today, and I want to thank you to come and being on the call this evening. Can we start out by asking you, where are you calling from this evening? And could you tell us a little bit about your family background?
Well, thank you, Mark. It's indeed a privilege and honor for me to be part of this Langham Live. And it's really good to all of these wonderful people on the screen. Right now I'm based in Lahore. It's the second biggest city in Pakistan. And my background, I come from a very Christian background. And I wanted actually to become economist, but the Lord, to sort of, change my direction when I was in the university and doing my master's in economics. So how God, is through the ministry of the Campus Crusade for Christ, they were doing the ministry in the universities at that time. And through their ministry, really God helped me, really to understand him, to know him well. And through the ministry of the Campus Crusade, I came to the Lord and accepted him, my personal savior. So that's very, very brief sort of my background, that where I come from, but I very much, come from a Christian background.
Yeah. What age were you, Qaiser, whenever you came to faith?
Yeah, it was like I was 19 years old when I came to faith. I was young at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And were you just starting into university whenever you came to faith?
Yeah, that's right. I just started my university at that time. Yeah.
We're quite aware that Pakistan is quite a predominantly Muslim country. I think the figures I have is it's about 95% Muslim. So being a Christian in a Muslim country, whenever you were young, did that create any challenges for you?
Yeah, of course, the living in a minority context is not easy, but thank God, Pakistan, in Pakistan, the church is very much visible, and we do constitutionally, we do have a freedom to practice our faith, but there are many misunderstandings about the Christian faith, and especially, in the universities, the young Christians, they face a lot of kind of challenges. And I do remember my time in the university, and one of the challenges I faced that the people think that the Christians, especially, is a sort of a misconcept and misunderstanding about the Christians, that they have very, kind of, they can easily move from here to the West, because they think that America or the West is Christian. They don't properly actually understand it. And many times my friends and fellow university, they ask me, what are you doing here? You are a Christian. Why don't you go to live in the US or in Europe or UK. And I said, nonsense question you ask me all the time. I'm a Pakistani. This is my country. I have to live here. And don't think that, the Western countries are, like Christians and they have, I have nothing to do with that. This is my country. This is my land. And how can I leave that? But that's kind of, the misunderstanding still, exists, and many Christians and even, they do face, these kind of challenges.
Yeah. It is. It's something that myself in the Western world, that it's almost beyond my comprehension how you square that circle, if I can use a very Northern Ireland term, to live side by side. I just sensitively, I just want to think about the church in Pakistan just for a couple of minutes. So obviously you're saying that there is this misconception between Muslims and Christians of faith and of belief. But yet you say that the church, the Christian church, is open in Pakistan. Is there any form of opposition that happens, or what way is that manifested?
Yeah, of course, church always face the opposition, and especially living in the minority context of Pakistan, where predominantly a Muslim country, and constitutionally, church has a freedom. We can practice our faith, we can worship openly, and the churches are very much legal in that way. But of course, there are many challenges as well. There is a discrimination as well. There is a sort of, the Christians do face sometimes opposition, and there is a big challenge of like blasphemy laws, and these kind of, the things are always there. But thank God, the church is visible in Pakistan, I would say. And we can have our gatherings, or like we can come together, and we can even, share like the gospel as well, but though, the conversion, like, you cannot convert to people, but there are people who profess their faith, sometimes, very secretly. But of course, this kind of freedom we don't have. And but on the other side, it's we as Christians, we can practice our faith.
That's incredibly interesting, Qaiser. Because it's interesting that you can't convert, and that's blasphemy laws and all the rest of it. So how does the church actually be salt and light within their communities in which they live?
Yeah, of course, this is the mandate, for the church, to be salt and light. But on the other hand, the Christian church is really in Pakistan is struggling, in many ways. And the voice of the church is very weak, I would say, politically and socially as well. Majority, the Christians belong to very poor, like economically poor community. And on the other side, there are challenges for the church, it's not very much united. And there are many denominations, and within the denomination, there are like fractions and groups, and that's, I think, the sad part of the Pakistani Christianity, that is not very much like united, and it's very disintegrated, I would say. And because of that, then we face a lot of challenges on the political front, socially, and as a community. So I think the church needs to realize it, the challenges the Christian community is facing, and particularly the church leadership. And they need to really to keep, their personal things, behind, and they should be more come in the front to for the interest of the people, the community, the poor people. And I think the church can play a very vital role. But unfortunately, there are many, kind of things, which I can say, but so simply I would say that the church voice, within the country is very weak.
Yeah. Actually, what you're saying there about the church in Pakistan is maybe it's replicated in so many other countries in the world. It's can be quite split and quite diverse in many ways. Well, obviously you are a Langham Scholar, that you were able to obtain a Langham Scholarship. So how did you hear about Langham Partnership?
Well, I have a long association with the Langham Partnership because I do remember, the Langham expository preaching program came to Pakistan in 2004 when Dr. Chris Wright came, and he led the workshop in Pakistan. And I was, the one of those, who were the sort of the first participants of that workshop and the first graduates of Langham at that time. And since then, I've been very much, the part of the Langham expository preaching program in Pakistan. So this is how I came to know about Langham. First, the Langham Preaching. And then, of course, when I was part of the Langham Preaching program, when the Langham guys, the international facilitators, they used to come to Pakistan a lot. And at that time, they introduced the Langham Scholars program. And of course, I was also encouraged by Langham friends that I should, to apply for the Langham scholarship for my doctoral studies. So this is how, I came to know about the Langham.
Dr. Chris Wright was just emailing me yesterday, and he apologized that he can't be on the call tonight, and he said to pass his best wishes and his apologies to you this evening. So that I have done. I've been faithful in doing that. So I have. Well, obviously you did your PhD, and so you're the Reverend Doctor Qaiser Julius. So how has your PhD assist you in serving in Pakistan now?
Yeah, Pakistani church, has been suffering, with regard to the scholarship, and especially, very few, the people who have come to that level to doing the PhD and to teach, here. And some of, the scholars who did their studies, but they never came back. But few of them, of course, they came back. But still, in terms of scholarship in Pakistan, we still, the struggle, particularly the theological institutions. And I think that was one of the reasons that, I personally, committed to that if I go there and equip myself and come back and to serve my country, serve my people, particularly the church here. And I finished my PhD by the end of 2015, and in early 2016, we came back. And since then, I've been very much part of the, to serve the church. And mainly my role, currently in the institution is that I'm the president of the Open Theological Seminary. Though my responsibility is very much, on the other side, to provide the leadership to the institution. But I love academics and I write. Since I came back, I wrote my 3 books, in Urdu, because we have a very less literature, in Urdu language. So most of the literature has been translated from English, but unfortunately, we have a less literature in Urdu language. So that's my commitment, if God allows me, more years to write, and I would love to, to contribute more to produce few more books, particularly, for the theological students.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we didn't have the faculty, to start a sort of our master level, or a good master level program. So since I came back, we decided to start an MA in Christian Studies in the Open Theological Seminary. And thank God we were able to offer that program. And it is now accredited by Asia Theological Association. So this is the fifth year of that program. So apart from that, I'm also involved with the Deaf Theological Educators Forum. It's a very important forum where we bring theological institutions together to raise the quality of theological education in Pakistan. So in that way, my role in that forum is quite instrumental. And thank God, we are trying our best, with our limited resources, that whatever is possible, to really to bring the quality, up of the theological education in Pakistan. Because our, main, the reason behind is that because the Christian church now is very much dependent on the leadership which is coming from the theological institutions. And if the theological institutions are weak, then of course, the leadership coming from those institutions is going to be weak, and ultimately it's going to affect the church. So in that way, it's I'm very much convinced that we have to strengthen our theological institutions in terms of good faculty, trained faculty, equipped faculty, so that we could provide the really good leadership to the Christian church in Pakistan. So that's I believe, and what I can contribute with my colleagues and with my friends, we are doing our best.
That's so encouraging, even in the challenges that we all have, that's happening. I just want to dig in just in our last few moments into the Open Theological Seminary a little bit more. It is not a residential seminary, but it is a theological education by extension. As a matter of fact, I think you've contributed to a book on that subject.
Yeah.
So how does that work out? Is it purely distance learning, correspondence? How does it do that? How does it operate?
It's not distance learning. It's not by correspondence. We call it a context-based learning. So the students, they don't leave their places, and they didn't move to the campus. They remain in their context, and we provide, the material, the self-study material to the students. It's a very well-organized program on the different levels, from discipleship level up to the Bachelor of Theology. So the way, the program has been designed is very helpful, and very much, it can serve, the people easily, who are far distant from, and they don't have time or even the resources to go to theological college for a certain period of time, 3 or 4 years. So they remain there. And our focus is not only to train the clergy, but also to help the laity as well to understand their Christian, identity, who they are in Christ, and to understand the basics, of their faith, because they are living in a very a difficult context. And if they are not very well, deep rooted, in their faith, it's not easy for them to really to live. So that is really the focus of the seminary, to help out the Christian wherever they are, even in the rural areas or in urban areas, to reach out them and to help them, especially with the discipleship program, so they understand their identity, and it's going to give them the confidence in Christian faith, who they are. Yeah. So this is what we've been doing it, and about 10,000 students currently enrolled with the Open Theological Seminary on different programs. And apart from that, we have developed another program is called a Christian education program for teenagers. And that was the separate program which we developed a few years ago. And now it's also going very well, and particularly for the young people. So OTS it's a non-denominational institution and serving with all the denominations in Pakistan. And it's well recognized and well reputed theological institution. And I feel that I'm privileged that I'm part of this institution because it provides me a platform and also an opportunity to serve the church in Pakistan, throughout the country. And that's also helpful for us, when we do the Langham Preaching program through the Open Theological Seminary.
Oh, I did all my theological study through TEE, through Theological Education by Extension. So I have a very soft spot for it, and certainly that's really encouraging to hear the number of students that are presently studying, and we thank God for that. Just in the last couple of minutes during this conversation, you have mentioned about you are the Langham Preaching country coordinator.
Yeah.
Yeah, give us a little flavor there of what's happening in that area at this time.
Yeah, thank God, the Langham Preaching program has been going on in Pakistan since 2004. Nearly, this is the 20th year of the Langham Preaching program, and I do remember in 2015 we celebrated the 10 years of the Langham work in Pakistan, and when Dr. Chris Wright and many other friends from Langham, they were able to be part of that. And this year we are going to celebrate the 20 years of Langham Preaching program in Pakistan. And I think what my information is about the Langham Preaching, that Pakistan is one of those countries, where this movement really grew in a fantastic way. It's very popular. The people really respect the movement, and particularly the Langham Preaching program. And you will be surprised to know that whenever we advertise for the Langham Preaching program, we simply, through the social media, we advertise it. And then the people in the queue for sometimes, for 2 or 3 years, they've been waiting for their turn. Because if we take like 70 or 80 people one time, in a workshop, and the first, they come and first serve, the basis we do that. And many times people send their request, look, I've been waiting for like last 3 years and still my turn is not come. So this kind of, the popularity of the Langham Preaching program in Pakistan. Yeah. And in November, we are going to do the National Preachers Conference in the capital of Islamabad, where Dr. Paul Windsor, who is the international Langham Preaching program director, he is coming, and some other friends from US also going to join us, where we are going to celebrate the Langham's 20 years of ministry in Pakistan. So it's really making a big difference. And whenever I meet, with those people who have graduated from the Langham Preaching programs, and we hear from their churches, from their, congregants, and it's very encouraging that it makes a huge difference in their preaching, because the culture of preaching in Pakistan is very random preaching. They don't do it properly then in series. But through the Langham, wherever the Langham graduates are, we hear wonderful stories that how their preaching has been improved, and it has impacted the lives of the people. So the story of Langham Preaching in Pakistan is very encouraging,
Yeah. Certainly, Qaiser, you've encouraged our hearts tonight, so you have. And to hear that both Langham Preaching and seeing what's going on in the Open Theological Seminary it's been really encouraging to hear, despite of the challenges that there are within the country. So as we come to close this conversation, there is prayer points that's going to come up in the chat box now, and we're going to go into our breakout rooms in just a moment, but I just want to finish by saying, Qaiser, thank you so much for taking this evening. I know you've had a very busy day and it's quite late where you are, but we really appreciate the time in which you have spent with us.